Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to learn the Four Illimitable, right? Appamaññā. A little bit lower. Yeah, already switched. We have a Four Illimitable. Number one, loving kindness, Mettā, compassion, Karuṇā, altruistic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha. So these are very famous ones. So they are popularly known as sublime living, Brahma Vihara. Because our way of life became sublime and noble, so if we put them into practice. Actually, the most popular term is Brahma Vihara, the noble abiding or noble living, right? So these four mental states are very important. These four, the practices are very important that the Buddha highlighted in the Kalama Sutta. So I think many of you know that Kalama Sutta talk about 10 rules, right? Not to believe in anything. So that was handed down from generation to generation. Not to believe in the books, right? Religious books. Like that. So actually, for these 10 rules, Kalama Sutta is famous. Actually, the main message in that sutta is that so we have to know ourselves whether what we are going to do is that lead to beneficial for yourself, for others, right? And also at the end, the Buddha said that to practice these four illimitables, right? Actually, the Buddha said in that sutta that whether you believe next life or whether you do not believe next life, it doesn't matter. Just do good things, right? So if there is next life, then you will have a good rebirth. If there is no next life, then you will live peacefully and meaningfully in this very life. That's a very important message. And the Buddha said to live with the four sublime living, right? So we have to practice loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity in our daily life. Then only our life will be meaningful and peaceful, right? If there is next life, and we will have a good rebirth. Even if there is no next life, and we will live in this life peacefully, right? So this is very striking message, right? Actually, the listeners are, very highly educated in the Kalama Sutta, right? For that reason, the Buddha gave a very the discord is very suitable for them, right? So what I want to point out is in Kalama Sutta, even in Kalama Sutta, the Buddha said to live with 4 sublime states, right? 4 sublime living is very important one. So they are also defined as the divine dwelling, the 4 divine dwellings, because they are mental dwellings of the Brahma deities in the Brahma Loka, right? So normally the Brahma in the Brahma realm, so they normally stay with the 4 divine dwellings, 4 divine mental state, loving kindness, compassion, mostly, generally, right? So therefore it is called the Brahma Vihara, the Brahma-like mental state, right? Abhidhamma and commentary literature use them as the illimitable or the immeasurable, appamaññā. So we cannot limit. So because they are to be developed or to be practiced to all living beings, not to limit, not limiting to any type of group or any type of individual. So you have to practice loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, or equanimity, any type of living beings, whether you like it or you don't like, right? Whether superior or inferior, whether ugly or beautiful. So you have to practice to all type of living beings. You don't have to limit certain type of group, right? You just practice those mental state to our only Singaporeans. That's not appamaññā, right? That's not appamaññā, but it's also right. But you have a bias, right? Here, you don't have a bias toward any type of living beings, right? So therefore, Abhidhamma in second book of Abhidhamma is named as appamaññā. The commentary also they use as appamaññā. It's very beautiful word, much more meaningful than Brahma Vihara. So this is a technical word. So as you know, Abhidhamma choose a technical term to define the meaning, right? So here, appamaññā means no limit, right? You don't have to limit any type of group or any type of people. So that is the 4 illimitables. Why we have only 2 in Abhidhammatthasaṅgaha? So as you know, we have only compassion, Karuṇā and Mudita, altruistic joy, are named as the appamaññā, the illimitable. So why only 2? So as you know, the loving kindness, Mettā, is mentioned under the heading of adosa, no hatred, right? No hatred. So if we talk about adosa, so Mettā is included there. So equanimity is mentioned under the heading of Tatra Mechatata, neutrality of the mind, right? So we have already learned all these 2 mental factors, right? So today we will learn loving kindness and equanimity again, because that's very important one, right? Very important one. So therefore, only the rest of the 2 mental factors, compassion and altruistic joy, are shown as the immeasurable or the illimitable in Abhidhammatthasaṅgaha, right? So as you know, we have a 52 mental factor. So among them, so we have only 2 appamaññā or the illimitable, compassion and altruistic joy, right? But actually, loving kindness is already mentioned under the heading of adosa. Equanimity is already mentioned in the Tatra Mechatata, right? Neutrality of the mind. So therefore, in Abhidhammatthasaṅgaha, we have only 2 appamaññā. So let's talk about Mettā, loving kindness. Actually, Mettā is a very popular word. I mean, even in the dictionary, some dictionaries mention, right? Very popular one. So I think that we have to know this one. Loving kindness. The commentary of Sutta Nippada describe Mettā as a hita sukha uppanaya kamata. The desire to bring forth the welfare and happiness of all sentient beings. Actually, it's not literal meaning, but the meaning is to bring forth a desire or a mental state that bring forth welfare and happiness of all other beings. All other beings, right? You don't have to limit. So all sentient beings. So you have a desire to bring forth the welfare and happiness. So actually, it's not easy. It's not possible to bring forth welfare and happiness of all type of living beings, right? There are many people, and you want to share what you have. You cannot share all, right? Many people. So if you share one group of people, it looks like you limit, right? Therefore, loving kindness alone is not enough. So we have to combine with the equanimity. So Mettā have to go hand in hand with the equanimity. Suppose there are 100 people. So you have only 10 cake, right? 10 cake. Then you can share only 10 people. But you don't have to upset or you don't have to sorrow for the rest of the people. You have to control with your equanimity. You have to control your mind, right? So I have only 10 pieces. So I can only feed only 10 people. The rest of the people, they are owner of their karma. We call it in Pali, sabbe satta kammasaka. We call it in Pali. What I want to say is loving kindness alone is not enough, right? So you have only 10 pieces. You can feed only 10 people. Here we have 100, right? So normally what happens is that after sharing 10 pieces of cake to the 10 people, we feel sorry for the rest of the people, right? Because we don't have equanimity. We cannot control our mind with the equanimity, right? So there's very important. So loving kindness have to go hand in hand with the equanimity, right? So equanimity is a how to say that, equalizer, just like an equalizer, right? It control. So here, the meaning of loving kindness is a mental state to bring forth the welfare and happiness of all sentient beings, right? All sentient beings. The commentary of Anguttara Nikaya define Mettā as a sabba sattana hita paranacheta. Hita paranacheta. Spreading the mind of welfare and happiness toward all sentient beings. The meaning is the same, right? The only same wording. So spreading the mind of welfare, a good way toward all sentient beings, right? So that is Mettā. So there is what the commentary mentioned. Actually, they mention different way, but the definition is the same, right? Definition is the same. Visuddhimagga mentioned Mettā as a mental state that makes friend with the sentient beings, right? Mettassa bhavo Mettā. You know, Mettā is friend, right? So if you are a good friend, if you have a good friend, then you really have a good way toward that person, right? You're very friendly toward that person. Just like that. So if you have loving kindness in your mind, you are friendly, and you want to bring forth a good thing and welfare and happiness for your friend, real friend. So Mettā is just like a how to say that? Mettā means a mental state that makes friend with the sentient beings. So because of Mettā, you make friend with the people, right? Here we have a befriender, right? In Singapore, befriender is very how to say it, among the Buddhists, even the other religious organization, right? They use the word befriender. Actually, this is a characteristic of Mettā. You're trying to be friend with the senior people, senior citizens, right? Actually, they are in need of companion. So you're trying to be friend with them, right? Be friend with them. So this is another definition of Mettā. As a good friend, you want them to be happy. You want them to be successful, right? So just like that, if you have a loving kindness in your mind, so you want other people be happy and be successful, right? And be beneficial in all areas, right? To be promoted, right? So that is a Mettā. It is rendered as a loving kindness, goodwill and friendliness and fellowship, right? Fellowship. Actually, Bhante Gunaratana, he preferred to translate as a friendliness using the definition of Visuddhimagga, right? So wherever you translate, so it, how to say, it we can define that the mental state, the desire to bring forth the welfare and happiness of all beings. So that will be loving kindness, right? That will be Mettā. Mettā is a sincere and strong wish for the welfare and happiness of all beings. So that is the real definition of Mettā. It is all-embracing love toward all living beings. It's very important. All-embracing love. You don't discriminate, right? People. You don't have. You don't divide the people who you love or who you do not love, right? So you have a real compassion or real love toward all type of living beings. So around you, right? Around you. That is a Mettā. In Mettā Sutta, Karuṇā Mettā Sutta, the Mettā is compared to the love of a mother on her only one son. So as you know, in Karuṇā Mettā Sutta, we always chant Mātayata Niyam Bodha Mayusa Eka Bodha Manuraki, right? So actually the mother who have only one son love her son very much, right? So just like that, we have to love all sentient beings, including animals, right? Even insect. So you have to it is the life, you have to treat them just like a mother's love, right? To her only one son. It is just a comparison. The real Mettā goes beyond family boundary. Actually, just comparison. As you know, we normally praise the love for a mother, right? In the world, we cannot compare the love for a mother, right? Even father, they cannot love their children, just like a mother, right? So therefore, in the world, the love for a mother is the greatest. So therefore, the Buddha gives example, right? But only to her son, to her only one son, right? She has only one son. All the love will go to that sand, right? It is just a comparison. The real Mettā goes beyond family boundary. So Mettā is not the same as a string attached. String attached love, we call it appamaññā. Such love is often mixed with the sad interest. It has a lot of terms and conditions, very important ones. So actually, Mettā is not mixed with the sad interest, right? It has a lot of terms and conditions. So such love have a lot of terms and conditions. We normally love other people. So we love other people as long as they are behaving the way we like, right? Sorry. So, but if they are not nice to us, so our love is gone. So we have a terms and condition, right? So here, real loving kindness, no limit. Whether he is behaving the way you like or the way you do not like, it doesn't matter. You just bring forth the welfare and happiness of that person, right? That person. So therefore, the string attached love have a terms and condition, right? So when we love those people as long as they are behaving the way we like. So if they are behaving otherwise, we no longer love them. So that is the love with the terms and conditions, right? Here, loving kindness, compassion, no terms and conditions. Whether, even though you do not like that person, then you trying to do everything for him, right? Everything for him. Even though sometime, actually even last week we discussed about the love for a mother, right? The love for a mother. So actually, of course, as I said that the mother's love is greatest, right? Sometimes the mother forces her children. If they do not listen to her, infuriated, right? Very angry. That's not real loving kindness. Therefore, we call string attached love, right? Appamaññā. So of course, among the husband and wife, among the parents and children, we have a loving kindness. So if you want to bring forth welfare and happiness, or your children, or your husband or wife, that's loving kindness. But if you are angry, that's not real loving kindness. So even though they do not listen to you, that you control your mind with the equanimity. That's very important. So therefore, Mettā have to go with the equanimity, hand in hand, right? So sometimes we love our children and we trying to admonish them. So we trying to train them the way we like, right? Sometimes they may not listen because of their age, right? Especially when they grown up, when they became the teenager, very difficult to control, right? But if you cannot control your loving kindness with the equanimity, there is a big conflict between the parents and children, right? So therefore, here, loving kindness or Mettā really means, so you want to make them happy, make them successful. But if you cannot make them, if you cannot convince them to follow your advice, if you are behaving otherwise, they're trying to understand the ownership for their karma. Sabbe satta karma saka. That's their karma, right? I try my best. That's all, right? But in this way, you do not have any irritation in your mind. You don't have any anger in your mind, right? So if you have a irritation and anger in your mind, that's suffering. That's suffering. So therefore, the Buddhist Buddhist loving kindness sometimes is very difficult to explain, right? So therefore, the loving kindness is a pure love. You don't discriminate whether they are your enemies or they are friends, whether they are nice to you or whether they are not nice to you. You do not discriminate them. So you just do your part, right? You just do your part. So if the other party is not behaving the way you want, you control your mind with the equanimity. You balance your mind with the equanimity. So that is a very beautiful method, right? Very beautiful method. Mettā does not have any conditions to love others. So it overcomes all social, religious, racial or political barriers. You don't have a social status. You don't have a religious background. So you love all other people, right? And you don't choose a racial status and political career, right? You don't choose. So you love all beings, right? All beings. So you have to remember that sometimes, even though we love all beings, they will not treat you the same way, right? Do you know? It's quite sure. So what you have to do is owner of their karma, right? So you do your job, right? So if they are not doing their part, just understand the karma, right? The ownership of their karma or your karma. That's all I can do without upsetting or without irritation. You just understand. You're trying to balance your mind with the equanimity, right? That's very important to practice. So we have a three type of mettā. Normally what we understand mettā is a mental state, right? Mental state. We have a bodily act of loving kindness, and bhava act of loving kindness, and mental act of loving kindness. So now we are learning about mental factor, the last one, right? The last one. Mental act of loving kindness. So actually when we have mental act of loving kindness, and we will have a bhava act of loving kindness, and also bodily act of loving kindness. So if you have a loving kindness, so you will use a lovely speeches, right? And pleasant speeches. So if you have a real loving kindness in your mind, then you will behave, right? In a nice way to other beings. So we have a three type of mettā. So here I just want to highlight that developing loving kindness in our mind, of course, that's the foundation, the root of all good action, right? But we have to use lovely speeches, right? Pleasant speeches. So we have a 5 criteria equal speech, right? So you have to follow them. If you follow, then you're practicing loving kindness, right? Then you have to act with your body. So we have a 3 type of loving kindness. So actually we can understand that we also have a 3 type of Karuṇā, compassion, right? Compassion. If you have a compassion, so your speech, your body, you will do good things, right? Good things. And also you have a 3 type of mudita, right? Even though in the Pali Canon it's not mentioned, we must understand that. So in this sutta, you can understand sometime the Buddha in the Karuṇā Mettā Sutta. So the name of the sutta is Mettā Sutta, right? Even though the Mettā is mentioned, so it has a compassion, an altruistic joy, and equanimity as well. So if you read Karuṇā Mettā Sutta in detail carefully, then you will understand that the Buddha explained not only loving kindness in the sutta, but also the rest of the 3 as well. 4 together, right? So actually, the last verses of Karuṇā Mettā Sutta, the Buddha explained equanimity. So therefore, equanimity is very important, right? So you just read Karuṇā Mettā Sutta. Sometimes, even though the Buddha used the word Mettā, it is combination of four, right? All together. Putting Mettā into practice. So how to practice Mettā? Practicing loving kindness is successfully done when it makes ill subside. So here, ill Vyapara. So we have a big ill or a small ill, right? Different type of ill, right, in our mind. So sometimes when we think about a person, but if we want to harm that person, that is ill, right? If we want that person, how to say, desire to harm, right? So that is the ill. So if you can subside ill, so that is you practice loving kindness successfully, right? That it fails when it gives rise to selfish affection. So if there is selfish affection in your mind, then that is the practice of loving kindness is fail. So as I said, if you have a lot of terms and conditions in your mind, right? Then it fails. Is selfish affection or biased affection, right? So if all the terms and conditions didn't meet, then you begin upset, right? You became very angry. So therefore, loving kindness, you don't have to have a ill, and you don't have to have a selfish affection. For that reason, in previous 2 weeks, I explained the question that, right? If we have ill in our mind, there's no loving kindness, right? Loving kindness. But sometimes ill arises, then we trying to be mindful our mind. So there is ill toward that person. So if we are mindful, the ill is subside. Then loving kindness come in. Because of loving kindness, we are able to extend our love, right? We try to help them. So therefore, one time, only one mind movement, right? If we are angry inside, we are mindful. I'm angry, right? The anger, mindfulness. Anger, mindfulness. Eventually, the loving kindness come in, right? Loving kindness come in. So if there is loving kindness in our mind, then we try to make them happy. Make them want to bring forth their welfare and happiness, right? So that is the real loving kindness. Any question?
Why the Buddha do encourage us to practice the Vihara rather than to
Sorry?
more the Buddha?
Yeah.
Encourage us to practice the four Vihara rather than do vipassana.
For Vihara. Other than
I forgot when I see somebody, he taught this person before he passed away. When he came back, the Buddha told him he should teach him how to do vipassana.
Or that me, instead of doing vipassana, why the Buddha encouraged to practice the Vihara, right? No, sorry.
Practice vipassana rather than to practice the four Vihara.
Vihara. But of course, developing loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity in our mind is called samatha, not vipassana. But of course, there are many sutta that talk about to practice vipassana. Then after we have a samatha. Suppose we develop loving kindness in our mind, right? We are full of loving kindness. Then if you can practice that loving kindness, you can practice vipassana using that loving kindness. As you know, if we have a strong concentration, we know how the loving kindness arises and passes away. Right? So if you are just keep on developing loving kindness, that will be samatha, right? That will be samatha. But you can use that samatha to practice insight meditation. The Buddha also mentioned samsota, right? So when you have a very strong concentration, you know that how loving kindness arises and passes away, right? Another loving kindness arises and passes away. So that is a practicing insight meditation, right? So when we practice insight meditation, of course, we can become for the noble Arya Sangha, right? Noble Arya Sangha. But of course, the Buddha also, of course, the main aim is to practice vipassana, right? To practice vipassana. Okay.
Just now you give an example of mother's love.
Yeah.
Now, I was wondering if this mother, a mother show an unconditional love to his child,
Yeah.
to a child, but when to other child, it will not be so. Then do we call it loving kindness? Number two, second question, Abhidhamma to a group of people,
Yeah.
loving kindness, it should be for a group of people, no biasness. But if your dana is in your capacity is too small
Yeah.
to be shared to the rest, you will cause unhappiness, disgruntled, jealousy, and so forth. Then will this call an act of dana loving kindness?
I think it's very important questions to understand. The first one is you have a unconditional love toward your children, but you cannot do the same with other children, right? So as I said, the example is sharing a piece of cake, right? 10 pieces of cake, the 10 people, and you cannot share the rest. Just like that, you can share unconditional love to your children, but cannot. But of course, the degree may be different, but you have to develop unconditional love toward them. As long as you do not have ill or anger or hatred toward those persons, that means you have a loving kindness. It may be powerful or less powerful, right? So we have two methods to develop loving kindness. So, how to say, appamaññā, no limit, right? In Pali we call it anodisa. You do not limit on who, right? But we also have one type of the method is called odisa. Odisa means you limit. Suppose we're trying to limit 1/4. May all beings living in this hall be happy and well, right? That's also we can call it unconditional love. Even though we trying to delimit, right? Delimit. Because even among this, the people, even among this group, there may be some people you may like or you do not like, right? But without limiting who to, right? You're trying to delimit the place. May all beings who are living here be happy and well and happy. May all beings living in Singapore, right? Well and happy. Because by doing so, your loving kindness is more powerful, right? More powerful. So in this case, the first question, trying to develop and cultivate unconditional love to your children. Of course, your children is someone who is very strong object to develop loving kindness, unconditional love, right? Your unconditional love is very powerful and very effective. But toward other children, as long as you do not have ill will toward them, but there is a fighting between your children and other children, right? If you bias toward your own children, actually the love to your children is not unconditioned, right? Not unconditioned. So here they are fighting. So you have to know why they are fighting. Who is right? Who is wrong? You have to know it. So if your children commit wrong things, so you have to acknowledge, you have to admit, you have to accept it. Let your children suffer. I mean, something, right? So you have to be righteous, right? Righteous toward your children. So it's very important to understand that as long as you do not have a bias, that is unconditioned love, right? Unconditioned love. So as I said, we cannot develop, we cannot radiate loving kindness toward all, right? Toward all. Of course, if you have a very, just like the mind of the Buddha, right? Actually, their love and compassion is boundless, limitless, right? So they can separate their loving kindness toward all living beings, right? But when they direct their loving kindness toward one person, very powerful, very powerful. I will share one story. As you know, the Wuji, right? So there are two democratic countries in India, ancient India, at the time of the Buddha. One is Mangala, another one is Wuji. So Venerable Ananda, before he became a monk, he is a trader. He normally go trading some country, right? So among those countries, he have a very close friend in Mangala country. So actually, his close friend is one of the member of parliament, an influential person, very influential in Mangala country, right? Then he became a monk. When the Buddha visited Mangala country, he accompanied the Buddha. So by that time, all the parliament members, they are welcoming the Buddha and Sangha. And he saw, actually his name is Roja. He saw, the Venerable Ananda saw his friend, Roja. And he knows that he is not a Buddhist. He may be a follower of the religion. He is very happy that his friends is welcoming the Buddha and Sangha, right? He thinks that he is a Buddhist. That is, he became the disciple of the Buddha. And he approached his friend and asking him, so I'm a very happy friend. I know that you are not a Buddhist, follower, disciple of the Buddha, but now you are welcoming the Buddha. And his friend, Roja, taught to Venerable Ananda, actually, I am not disciple of the Buddha. So actually, we have an announcement. The government announced that for those who do not welcome the Buddha and Sangha, they will be fined. For that reason, we have to come. So, Venerable Ananda became very disappointed. At the night time, Venerable Ananda taught to the Buddha, and the Buddha, Roja Mangala Buddha, he is very well known. So if he became the disciples of the Buddha, so actually the teachings of the Buddha were separate, far and wide. So therefore, I went to request the Buddha and to radiate loving kindness, special loving kindness. And the Buddha, of course, the Buddha accepted his request. And nighttime, the Buddha radiated loving kindness toward Roja. Only one, right? Only one. Actually, it's mentioned in Vinaya Pitaka. So the Vinaya Pitaka describe that a baby calm who is staying away from his mother calm and ran after his mother So just like that, so the Buddha loving kindness so affected that Roja and right away come to the Buddha, asking the monks, where is the Buddha? I want to meet the Buddha. And the monks directed the place, and when Roja met with the Buddha, and he said that, the Buddha, you accept, I will donate everything. You do not accept something from other people when you come to Mangala. Right? Just accept what I offer. Do not accept the offering of other people. Because so actually he was affected by loving kindness, right? Loving kindness of the Buddha. It is called Odisa. Odisa means limited, right? Trying to delimit the passing, right? So therefore, his loving kindness became very effective. It is from our. Then the Buddha said that Roja, for those who have a strong faith in the Buddha, anyone did like this, right? They just want to offer, do not accept offering of other people, right? So actually, it's not nice for us. So we have to accept whoever donates, right? So actually, this is one of the very beautiful story, the Odisa loving kindness, right? So we sometimes we have to delimit, right? People, all the people in this world, right? Beware and happy. Actually, it is not. It is unconditioned love, right? It's unconditioned love. Suppose suddenly someone fall down. Even though I really loving kindness, all the people in this hall beware and happy. Suddenly, one person fainted and fall down. So what I have to do is, and I have to control my mind, right? Even though I have a loving kindness, so my loving kindness may not be, how to say, affected toward that person, right? So I have to control with the equanimity. The second question is loving kind dana. Actually, I think you should understand with my simile. So I have only 10 pieces, right? Then I can give only 10 people. If you share that 10 pieces into 100, so I think people is not sufficient, right? So we have to use our, as I said, wisdom or equanimity. Wisdom or equanimity, right? So therefore, just loving kindness is not enough, right? Not enough. Okay.
What is the difference between loving kindness, Mettā, and Karuṇā, compassion?
Okay, but come back later. Okay.
She said the 10 pieces of cake shared 100 people.
Okay.
The 90 people, you caused upset to 90 people. But she said, I wanted to know what will happen to these 90 people. They don't get the cake.
Okay.
They are upset.
Okay.
Then, okay, for us, we feel that, okay, we can understand Mettā and we have equanimity. But these 90 people, how?
As I said that,
I got
okay.
3 questions.
Okay.
The question is, I send Mettā every day, but you say that because of our limited power, if we send Mettā to just our neighbor, okay, but if we were to send bigger, then our Mettā will not be enough to cover all. So I don't send so many, I just send to a small group. Is it works that way? Because also, like, for example, if I do chanting,
I think we should have a microphone. Very good question. Okay, that question.
the question is, because we dedicate merits.
Okay.
So usually we dedicate to ABCDFG.
Okay.
So right now is with your limited merits, so I cannot dedicate to so many people. I can only give to my own parents, relatives, that's it. I cannot give to all other sentient beings. And see that it work that way.
So the first one is a 10 pieces of cake, right? then you able to give only 10, not enough. So you know your limit, right? You control your equanimity. Even though the result 90 people upset you and feel angry toward you, you have to stay control with your anger. It will affect them because they do not have, right? They do not have. So we can give another example. Titanic, right? Titanic, all the people. Oh, so among them, they use their wisdom and human right, right? Only the lady will have the boat, right? The boat. So therefore, I think it's a good choice. So they have a limited recluse, right? Recluse staff, just like a boat, just like what you call it? Light boat, right? Light boat. So actually, the light boat are not enough for all people, right? So therefore, they have to use their wisdom, or they have to use their equanimity, the power of equanimity. Only the lady are allowed, right? So, if all the people, we have a lot of compassion toward all people, loving kindness toward all people, right? I want them to die. I won't let them to die. But I will tell them and go, how to say that, all the people can go there onto the boat, right? So the boat can contain only 10 people, but the captain is so compassionate, full of loving kindness that he tells them, now the boat can take only 10. Now 100 people go there, right? Full of compassion, but lack of equanimity of wisdom. If 100 people go there, everyone will die, right? But only 10 people ride the boat. They will be safe, right? It's safe. So therefore, of course, the captain, he want everyone alive, right? Safe. But he have to use his wisdom and equanimity. Only women are allowed to go into the boat, right? That is equanimity. That is equanimity. So I think, of course, other people will die. So what you have to understand is they are owner of their karma. Very important one. Actually, sabbe satta karma saka. Very important, right? So only the lady. If you are a woman, you'll be safe, right? You'll be allowed to go in. So even some gentlemen, right? And they are afraid to die, so therefore they snip into the women, right? But they are alive, they are safe, but their life, they cannot, how to say, the whole of their life, they have a full of remorse, right? And so therefore, even though the captain may have full of compassion toward all people, right? He have to control his compassion and loving kindness with the equanimity. Otherwise, everyone will die, right? Okay. So second question is he have limited loving kindness. So for that reason, to send that limited loving kindness to all beings may not be enough. A very beautiful question. So actually here, you have to understand that sending loving kindness means you do not send your loving kindness to that person, but you we use bhavana. You develop loving kindness in your mind. Suppose you're trying to develop your mind loving kindness, and then you show the act of verbal action with the loving kindness, and the act of bodily action with the loving kindness. Wherever you go, everyone will be affected. everyone will have the share of your loving kindness, right? So, even though, of course, as we have a very, weak concentration and loving kindness, so may not be so affected like the Buddha, right? But anyway, you're trying to develop your mind, you're trying to develop loving kindness and compassion in your mind. So wherever you go, the people around you will enjoy, right? Will enjoy. That's very important. To understand, trying to develop a good mind in your mind, right? Loving kindness and compassion in your mind. People around you will be benefited from it, right? And that question is a dedication, loving kindness. So as you know, we have our own responsibility, right? So in the Singhalawada Sutta, so we have 5 duties of the children. So among them, so you have to share the merit to your departed parents. So actually here, you are fulfilling your own duty. You are practicing loving kindness and compassion toward your parents, right? So actually it's not selfish. It's not selfish one, right? You are fulfilling your duty, right? Okay. Question? Okay, no question. Let's go. So we have 11 benefits of developing Mettā. Number one sleeps well. If you want to sleep well, have to develop loving kindness in your mind, right? That is a very good medicine, right? Very good medicine. When I was young, I was possessed of getting 1 in 3 status. What is it? I want to be in the top 1 in 3, right? For that reason, top 3. I try hard. Then because of that stress, then I cannot sleep night time. For a long time, I cannot sleep because actually at the time I was only 30 years old and very young. So I do not know how to do it. Of course, as a young children, I do not know. So a lot of stress. Then I try hard. I got top. Number 1, right? Number 1. So I don't want to go down from that level. So I'm trying my best. So I have a lot of stress that somebody will take over me. So therefore, I'm trying my best, but stress. And I cannot sleep night time. Then, luckily, one of the senior monks taught to me that before you sleep, and chant Karuṇā Mettā Sutta. So I follow his advice. I chant Karuṇā Mettā Sutta. Then I can sleep well. So from the time onward. So actually, even the chanting will help us to sleep soundly, right? But if we have a loving kindness in our heart, we'll be able to sleep well, right? That's very important. Sometimes we cannot sleep because we have a lot of stress, right? A lot of stress, a lot of depression, a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of ill will. Sorry. So because of that, we cannot sleep well, right? So actually, one of the benefits is one sleep well. One wakes up happily. Very important one, right? Very important one. One does not have a bad dreams. If you normally we have bad dreams, the reason is we have a less compassion, right? Less loving kindness. Even though it's talk about the 11 benefits of developing Mettā, it's talk about compassion as well, and altruistic joy as well. and equanimity as well. They talk about all four, right? So by developing the Brahma Vihara, four Brahma Vihara, we'll be able to sleep well and wake up well and will not have a bad dream. One is dear to human beings. Of course, if you have a loving kindness, compassion, everyone will love you, right? So if you have a lot of enemy, that means you don't have loving kindness, right? That's a very important one. If you are making quarreling with the many people, so that means you don't have a loving kindness, right? That's a very important one. Here, loving kindness here means or a desire to bring forth the happiness and welfare of other people, right? Regardless of whether they are your friend or not, right? Insider or outsider, the ugly or beautiful, women or men, doesn't matter, right? So if you have a desire to help them, that means you have a loving kindness in your mind. If you have loving kindness, people will love you, right? So one is dear to human beings. One is dear to non-human beings. Not only human beings, but also non-human being means with deva, or it can be even the ghost, right? The ghost may not haunt you. Even the ghost may not frighten you, right? Frighten you. It's a very important one. So there is a story of the background story of Karuṇā Mettā Sutta. I think many of you know, right? So actually, at the time of the Buddha, the monks, so they learn the meditation method, and they go in the forest to practice meditation for 3 months. Normally, the winter period, right? So a group of monks also go in forest to practice meditation. So when they come, so the guardian spirit of the tree, they cannot stay on the tree. So therefore, they have to climb down. They have to stay on the ground. So they are the monks are virtuous. So therefore, they cannot stay. They are not to stay at the on the tree. So they have to stay on the ground. So thinking that, oh, one day they will go back. Or 1 week after they will go back. So that the man stay here. Or 1 month after they will go back. So after 1 month, around 1 month, they became upset, irritated that they're trying to frighten those monks. They show frightening figures, and they shouting, frightening voices, with the frightening voices. So after hearing those frightening appearances and frightening body and smell, actually earlier, for the first or second time, they are not talking. They tolerate, right? So, but the third time, so one of the monks started to talk about it. So I saw frightening ghosts. Where, right? But now I hear frightening songs. And then all the monks, they experience those frightening ones. So therefore, they thought that they became skinny. They cannot eat, they cannot stay, right? They became afraid. So therefore, the chief monks decided to go back. And go back to Jetavana. And they met with the Buddha, and the Buddha asked, "Why you all come back?" And they retold their story, and the Buddha, how to say, the Buddha gave a Karuṇā Mettā Sutta. So before you go, you enter the forest, chant Karuṇā Mettā Sutta, and radiate loving kindness. So there will be not a problem. And the Buddha knows that all these men will become enlightened at that very forest. So therefore, the Buddha suggested them to go back to the that forest and to radiate loving kindness and to chant Karuṇā Mettā Sutta. Then before they enter the forest, they chant and they really loving kindness. So actually, all the spirit, all the non-human beings, they welcome all the monks, and they fulfill all the things what they need. Then they practice meditation, then they became arahant, right? So this is the power of chanting Karuṇā Mettā Sutta, and also developing loving kindness, right? So one is dear to non-human beings. So here, spirits, right? Deity protect one. So if you want to get protection from the deity, develop loving kindness, right? So they can feel it. They can feel it. Any question? No question. Fire, poison, and weapon harm one. No fire, sorry. No fire, poison, and no weapon harm one. That's a very important one. Sometimes people trying to cut your body with the knife, right? Because you don't have loving kindness. But you feel angry and you use unpleasant word or unpleasant bodily action, right? Then you have the same response. So therefore, if you have loving kindness, no fire, no poison, no weapon, right? So some people, they add poison in the food, right? Because you don't have loving kindness. So therefore, this one also one of the benefits. Once mind quickly becomes concentrated, it's a very important one. So if you have loving kindness, if you develop loving kindness all the time, it's easier to concentrate. So therefore, many meditation masters, they suggest that to radiate loving kindness before you meditate. So in this way, if you are full of loving kindness and compassion in your mind, then easier to concentrate, right? So when you are meditating, sometimes you cannot concentrate. The ill will come in, right? You don't like passing, you don't like your feeling, you don't like the place, you don't like the food, like this, right? So you don't have loving kindness in your mind. Your mind is not concentrated. So number 8, one's mind quickly become concentrated. One's facial expression is serene, very important one. So if you have a serene facial expression, that means you have loving kindness. So you can see the face, right? You can feel the face. For those who are full of compassion, then we can see in their face, right? In their face. No hammer. Sorry. Need to add. Okay. Sorry. I forgot to correct this one. No fire, no poison, no weapon harm one, right? Number 10, one dies unconfused. Very important one, right? Unconfused. That's very important, I think. People are afraid of the last thought movement. Right? For those who have a serious diseases, for those who are in the hospitals, I normally suggest to develop loving kindness. The reason is that only for those who have loving kindness, the nurses, the doctor, the children and relatives and friends, they will approach. If you are angry all the time, even the nurses and doctor don't want to approach, right? Don't want to come to you. So therefore, it's very important. If you are in hospital, trying to develop loving kindness, right? Don't show your anger toward the nurses and doctor, right? Especially, it's very important when you are seriously ill, right? Seriously ill. So I'm happy that when the Doris, when she was admitted to hospice, so the nurse said that, so she is very nice, very good nature. I'm very happy to hear that. So that means she has loving kindness. She developed loving kindness. So the nurses can feel it, right? Can feel it. For that reason, they will have a good treatment, right? That's very important. So therefore, I always suggest for those who have a serious diseases, right, in the hospital, trying to develop, even before you die. So you will die unconfused. So you have a serenity of mind and clarity of mind. So if you have clarity of mind and serenity of mind, you have a good rebirth. A good rebirth, definitely, right? Definitely. Especially family member want to come to you, right? That's very important one. The last one is a higher one. If one does not penetrate further, one fails on to the Brahma wall. If you want to become the Brahma, develop loving kindness, right? Loving kindness. Right? The most highest one. Right? The most highest ones. So we have a 10, 11 benefit of developing Mettā. So as I said earlier, if you practice samatha, just developing loving kindness, then you will reborn in the Brahma realm, right? But if you practice vipassana, then you can become one of the four Illimitable, right? One of the four Illimitable. Any question? I think that is not difficult. Let's go to the next one. Karuṇā, compassion. Compassion. So what is Karuṇā? Karuṇā, normally we use compassion, right? Compassion is the quality which makes the heart of the good man tremble. Actually, this is the meaning, the definition of the Visuddhimagga. Visuddhimagga. Or the quality that arouses tender feelings in the good man at the sight of others suffering. So when you see someone is suffering, your mind is trembling. Your mind is shaking, right? Sometimes even people are suffering, our mind is not shaking. Our mind is very stable, right? That means you don't have compassion, right? When somebody is suffering, and you have to, your mind, so you have a tender feeling to help them, right? It is compassion. So this one also, I will take the same simile, the same analogy. You have 10 pieces, right? So 100 people are starving. They are starving, and they are going to die, right? So you have only 10 pieces. Then you give away only 10 people, right? 10 people. And the rest will die. So even though the rest will die, you don't have to feel sorry for them. You don't have to feel pity on them. You have to control your mind with equanimity. Sabesata kamasaka. If your mind, if you are sorry or if you are pity on them for 90 people, right? That means your compassion is not real one. Your compassion is not real one. You have only 10 pieces of cake, right? So only 10 people can survive. The rest will die. Then you know your limit, right? You know your limit that you can have only 10 people. you try your best, right? You try your best. So you have 10 pieces of cake. Even though 100 people are suffering, you don't want to suffer. You don't want to share. You don't want to share. You keep for you, right? You keep for you. You don't have compassion, right? Your mind is not shaking. Your mind is not trembling, right? The quality that arouse tender feelings in the good people at the sight of others suffering. The etymology of compassion in Latin is that co-suffering. Co-suffering. If they suffer, you also suffer. Actually, when you look at on the surface level, it seems like you have compassion. Actually, it's not. Even though they are suffering, you are not suffering. You're trying to, of course, your mind is shaken with the compassion, but you do not suffer. Actually, compassion is a wholesome mental state. So if your mind is polluted, it's not real compassion. So even though people are suffering, then your mind must be clear and clarity of mind. Then you're trying to how to say you're trying to figure out the situation, how you can do it, right? Then you're trying your best. That's real compassion. It's very difficult. And therefore, to explain compassion is very difficult. So therefore, Dalai Lama and Tibetan monks, so they are explaining Buddhist concept of compassion, which is different from Western psychology. So actually, the Westerner they like it. Actually, it's a Buddhist philosophy, right? Buddhist philosophy. The etymology of compassion is in Latin meaning co-suffering. So if you are suffering together, it's not real compassion, right? You are not suffering. So actually, but this is from Wikipedia. So Wikipedia said that compassion is the response to the suffering of others that motivates desire to help. So that definition is very good, right? It's also similar to Buddhist definition. But when we talk about just co-suffering, that's not real Buddhist compassion. If your mind is shaking with the sorrow, pity, or some kind of negative emotion, so that means it's not real compassion as well. So even the meaning of Karuṇā itself is not perfect, right? So we need to define what is the Karuṇā, right? So we have enemies of compassion. We have two enemies of compassion. So if you know two enemies, then you understand what is Buddhist concept of compassion, right? Number one, cruelty is the direct enemy of Karuṇā. Cruelty and the thought of harming. So therefore, in the Sutta said that the liberation of the mind by compassion is the escape from the thought of harming. If you have the thought of harming other people with your speech, with your body, that means you don't have a compassion, right? So therefore, the thought of harming or cruelty is the enemy, the direct enemy of compassion. Sometimes we have the thought of harming to other people. So therefore, we use unpleasant speeches, right? We use curses. We slander, right? And we use harsh speeches because we don't have compassion. We have the thought of harming. We want to harm those people, right? They do not like what we speak, what we act, right? So that is a direct enemy. So we have to be mindful in our speech and in our action, right? In our action. pity or passionate grief or sorrow is the indirect enemy of compassion. That's very important, very subtle point. Pity. If you see people are suffering, you have pity. You feel sorry, you feel sorrowful, right? Then that's not real compassion. It's enemy of compassion. Actually, Visuddhimagga use mask enemy of compassion. It came as a just like your friend, right? It pretend the pity or sorrow pretend as a compassion. It's not real compassion. It's an indirect compassion. So we have to know. We have to be mindful. So I will give you example to clear that one, to explain that one. So on the road, there is a car accident. A young boy, a schoolboy, was seriously injured. On the road, the driver is negligent and full of ignorance. So he is talking on the phone. And you saw, actually the car is going to hit the young schoolboy, right? Schoolboy. Then he is talking on the phone and drive carelessly, then hit this young boy. You saw with your own eye, right? Then the young boy is seriously injured. What happened? So when you see a young boy who is seriously injured, then your mind is shaken. Compassion arises. Compassion arises. But when you feel sorry, when you have sorrow and pity on that young boy, that's not real compassion. The pity or passionate grief comes as a compassion, pretend as a compassion. But what you have to do is, you want the welfare of that young boy, then without sorrow, without pity on what that young boy, you go rightly on toward that young boy. Then you trying to call ambulance, right? Call ambulance. You trying to help to call ambulance, and you trying to help the young boy to go to hospital to get treatment, right? But another aspect, then you feel angry toward the driver, right? Toward the driver. So therefore, that grief and sorrow tempt to the anger. It's not a real compassion. So if you have cruelty, the thought of harming, actually angry me, you have the thought of harming to the driver. You might use very strong speech, right? You might use you blow that driver, right? Actually, that anger is negative mental state in Buddhism, right? Instead of feeling angry, mindfully, you told the driver, and you take note the number of the bus, right? The buses, and you take necessary action, right? You report to the police without anger. That is a real compassion, right? The real compassion. It's not really easy. So when we see a young boy who is seriously injured, we feel pity on what that young boy, right? So if you have pity and sorrow, then it's not real compassion. So such type of sorrow and pity may lead to anger toward the driver. So you don't have to feel angry toward the driver, right? Mindfully, you have to take note everything, and you have to report to the police, right? That's what you can do. But the young boy may die, but you try your best to help that young boy. That's your part. If the young boy die, owner of his karma, right? You're trying to accept the ownership for their karma, right? The young boy, he crossed the road. The driver carelessly hit the boy. Even though the young boy died, your mind is not polluted with the anger or sorrow. You're mindful, right? You understand the ownership for that young boy. He have only a short karma in this life, right? Then he died. You cannot do, right? Instead of producing negative emotion, you trying to balance your mind with the equanimity, right?
The question when it says arouse, the definition arouse tender feeling in the movement, arouse tender feeling. Does that mean that in cultivating that you must have
Not ubeka. Arousing tender feeling is a compassion. Actually, it is a using from Visuddhimagga. Actually, here is a compassion. The definition of compassion is the same as a loving kindness. So you reinforce your desire to help other people. A good desire, right? A good desire. But the difference between loving kindness and compassion is, according to Theravada, is compassion takes people who are suffering, right? If the people are suffering, but you try to help them with the compassion. But loving kindness is wider range, right? Wider range. Whether they are suffering, whether they are prosperous, you try to help them. You have, I want to say, a good way toward them, right? So therefore, according to Theravada, but Mahayana, they highlight the importance of compassion, right? But Theravada highlight the importance of loving kindness. Actually, they're the same. Only the how they define is different. But according to Theravada, loving kindness is wider. Compassion take only those people who are suffering, who are poor, who are less educated, who are ugly, like this, who are less knowledgeable, right? Okay. Actually, it's a good question. Actually, helping is a bodily act of compassion, right? Bodily act of compassion. Suppose if you develop loving kindness, compassion in your mind, but you will definitely act with your body and also with your speech. Yes, of course. But according to here, we are learning about mental state, right? Mental state. According to Abhidhammatthasaṅgaha, so actually this is only mental state, just mental state, right? It's nothing to do with verbal action or bodily action. So based on mental factor or mental state, we're trying to act with your body, with your speech, right? With your speech. Sorry, can you repeat? Yeah. Of course, yes. We need more wisdom to develop loving kindness. But we have, yeah. So compassion is easier to develop. But we have a two type of compassion. Natural suffering. people who are suffering because of the flood, because of the war, you have compassion, right? But people in Singapore, they are enjoying their life. They are not suffering, naturally. But if the Buddha visit to Singapore, he might have compassion towards Singaporeans, right? If they are not mindful, the Buddha may be very worried about their spiritual life, right? Spiritual life. Here, natural suffering, spiritual suffering, right? It can be two types. So therefore, in the case of spiritual suffering, compassion may not be easy to develop, right? It's not easy to develop. So therefore, later I write down my note, not my note, I just copy from one of the learned monks, written by learned monks. And he said that Mahayana trying to focus, highlight the importance of compassion. So therefore they have the idea of bodhisattva, right? So actually they have the idea that they don't want to become the Buddha, and they will save all the sentient beings, right? And only after that became the Buddha. Actually, here they do not pay attention to equanimity. They forget to take equanimity. But Theravada, they highlight the importance of loving kindness, and they highlight the importance of wisdom. But they forget about compassion. So therefore, when you look at the Mahayana Buddhists and Theravada Buddhists, the Mahayanas are more generous. They are willing to help other people, right? But inside their idea, right? They highlight importance of compassion. So as a Buddhist, you must have compassion. Then you're trying to help them, right? The people are suffering. For that reason, when the natural disaster happened in one country, the Mahayana organization, they right away go there, full of compassion, right? Full of compassion. So anyway, we have to balance, right? We have to balance between compassion and equanimity of wisdom, right? So they should go hand in hand. They should go hand in hand. So therefore, you are right. The commentary also said that developing loving compassion is easier, because when we see people who are suffering, easier to the compassion arises, right? But when compassion arises, we have to know whether it is your mind is pure, or your mind is polluted with the pity or sorrow. That's very important. So when you look at the analogy of a young boy who is seriously injured, right? Then you have compassion in your mind. You try to run away to that young boy and try to rescue, call ambulance and sending him at the hospital, without feeling angry toward the driver. You're mindful. If you are angry, you do not know what to do. You may use unpleasant speeches, harsh speeches, right? But they are useless. Mindfully, then you take note and you report to the police, right? In that way, you are compassion. You control your compassion with the equanimity. In other words, you control your compassion with the wisdom. With the wisdom. It's not really easy. So miraculously, the child recover.
Yes, so in this case, how this thing, I don't know, how this thing link and then you know. I mean, I asked the question because it was my own experience. So I
Okay,
actually reconcile what is actually happening.
I see. The question is that the child's terminally ill. The doctor said no hope, no hope. So the mother feeling full of love and go to Goddess of Mercy. Goddess of Mercy, both. The Buddha or Goddess of Mercy, both. Okay. Yeah. I think there may be two factors, I think. Number one is a loving kindness of the mother. Another one is the karma, or your son, right? Your daughter. There may be two. Sometimes I think that the willpower is very important. I think it happens everywhere. So I heard that in the YouTube there is a story of a woman who brain dead, or I don't know, not brain dead, unconscious, coma. So people think that going to die. Then her husband came and talked to her approach in the near her ear and talked to her that I'm here, do not give back. I love you. So by hearing that word, then she have the willpower to come back. And she think that before her husband said that she know everything, what the daughter are talking, what the family member are talking. She know everything. But people think that she no longer have any conscience or any mind. But she said that she know very clearly. Actually, she is looking at her body from above. Actually, she is not suffering. And she, by that time, she is floating, and she even visit her uncle living in other country because of the mind, power of the mind. Then she is going to give up her body. But suddenly her husband came and whisper, right? Whisper her that I love you. Do not leave the family. Because of that, her husband's speeches, then she remembered to come back. Actually, she doesn't want to come back. She's not suffering. So, what I mean is the power of the mind, right? Here, I think you have a full of compassion to your daughter. Actually, if you are a Christian, you may go to churches. If you are Hindu, you will go to Hindu temple, right? But the same thing will be the same effect. Power of the mind. So that is power of your love, right? Another thing is the karma. So your daughter have a the karma to live, right? Karma to live. So therefore, I think these two combine. Actually, I think that here, compassion, real compassion, means, of course, going to the Buddha and going to the mercy God, the God of the mercy, Kuan Yin, but it's showing your loving kindness, right, toward your children. But by that time, if your mind is polluted with the sorrow and fear or loss of your children, that's not real compassion, right? It's not real compassion. Here, real compassion is you trying to create all the necessary conditions for your daughter to survive. So you're trying to help all the conditions, and you're trying to fulfill all the things that your daughter wishes, right? But of course, you can go to Kuan Yin or the Buddha. If you are Christian, you can go to churches. It's okay. But here, real compassion means you have together with equanimity, right? But you know that, you acknowledge that the ownership for your daughter karma. Yeah. So I think that miraculously, as you use that, miraculously sometimes, right? Sometimes people are going to die, even though we are praying in front of the Buddha for 10 hours, 100 hours, cannot. Right? Cannot.
Actually, I pray many days.
Yeah. So what I mean is, look at the people who are following different religions, right?
No, she's in the ICU. Yeah, but every time there's a history time and go to the temple, pray and talk to the Buddha and Kuan Yin. Many days, not just a few hours. Many.
As you know, we have the power of faith. But such faith must go with the wisdom. If there is no wisdom, it will lead to wrong directions, right? Blind faith. But I don't mean that you are compassion to your daughter and you are prayer to the Buddha and Goddess of Mercy. It will have a great effect. What I mean is, the real compassion, hear me, then you pray in front of the Buddha and the Goddess of Mercy, then you suppose, then your daughter dying. Then no sorry, no cry, no fear, no pity in your mind. But you acknowledge that the beings are honor their karma. I try my best to my daughter, and this is her karma. Right? Then you acknowledge that. So therefore is the real compassion here means no pity, no sorrow. Accompanied by equanimity, right? Accompanied by equanimity. It's very important. So here, in some cases, sorry, a little bit, time is a little bit past. Want to finish this one. In some cases, pity may appear in the guise of a friend, but it is not a true Karuṇā in Buddhist way of thinking. It is a false sympathy. So such sympathy is deceitful and lead to anger or sorrow. As I said that if you have a sorrow and pity toward a young boy, that's not real compassion. So that compassion, that false compassion or pity or sorrow will lead to anger toward the driver, right? Toward the driver. It's not. The real compassion do not produce any anger, right? Even though you have a compassion toward a young boy, no anger at all toward the driver. You know that the ownership for their karma, right? It's the seed wind makes cruelty subside. If you do not have thought of harming or cruelty, so your compassion is successful. But if you cannot control your compassion, it gives rise to sorrow. So that is your compassion is not real one. It fails to practice, right? Fail to practice. Here, so actually this is a copy from the book written by Dr. Abhidhamma. He is a Burmese man living in. He established a Buddhist center in Birmingham, England, and he studied not only Theravada but also Mahayana. Right. So this is I'm copying from his book, Emptying the Rose Cemetery. So the difference between loving kindness and compassion, right? Theravadians seem to place most emphasis on the loving kindness, Mettā. Why Mahayana schools emphasize compassion? In fact, all four sublime states are only different aspects of a single energy. Very important one. They have to go hand in hand. Different aspects of single energy. It does not really matter where you start. So you can practice for those who are suffering, compassion. For those who are doing well, altruistic joy. If you are practicing for both who are suffering, who are doing well, loving kindness, right? So therefore, Mettā cover everything, right? Mettā cover everything. So those three have to control with the equanimity, right? If there is a difference, then it is only terminology. Only terminology, very important one, right? Terminology. The same basic energy of caring and open-heartedness is understood by the word Mettā among the Theravadians and by the word Karuṇā in Mahayana Sakes. And it's quite clear. Isn't it? Actually, the most important thing is caring for others, open-heartedness, goodwill and friendliness, right? The bringing forward the welfare and happiness of all sentient beings who are suffering, who are doing well, right? That is main single energy. There may be only one difference, is the terminology, right? Terminology. One question. If you wish. Don't want, huh? Okay. Any announcement? Oh, okay. Please wait for a while.
Okay, for those who come late just now, we are giving out this handbook of Abhidhamma studies, 3 volumes. If you need one set, you can take it before you leave. Just sign your name next to your name on the attendance sheet. And if you like to make a dana, you can either put it in the donation box in the shrine hall, or you pass to anyone, pass to me or Sandra. Okay.
Because this one, this book is a bring from Malaysia. It's done by Mangala Vihara.
And one more thing, because we have limited sets, so if you are coming in a couple or sister who are staying together, please just take one set so that the other people have a chance to take. Thank you. Yo vada tam pavaro manu Jesu Sakyamuni Bhagavata Gicho Paragato Bala Viriya Samangi Tam Sugatam Saranatam Upemi Raga Viragamane Jama Sokam Dhammana Samkatama Patikulang Madura Mimampa Suvibatam Dhamma Mimam Saranatam Upemi Yata cha dinama appalamau Chatusu suci su purisa yogesu Attaca pugala dhammadasate Sangamimam saranatamuppemi. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante.